Marlon Brando is known as one of the greatest actors in history. People respected him for his deep, powerful acting and strong presence. But behind the camera, he was not always calm or friendly. He had strong opinions and did not hide his feelings. If he disliked someone, he made sure the world knew it. Brando had a fiery personality, and he often clashed with other famous actors. In this video, we will look at the 6 actors Marlon Brando hated the most, and why. These stories show a different, darker side of the man known as the Godfather of Hollywood. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. Marlon Brando was born on April 3, 1924, in Omaha, Nebraska, in the United States. He was the 3rd child in his family. His father, Marlon Brando Sr., was a businessman, and his mother, Dorothy Brando, was an actress who loved theater. Marlon had a difficult childhood. His mother drank too much and often ignored the children. His father was strict and cold, and he rarely showed love. Because of these problems at home, Marlon felt lonely and angry as a child. Brando had trouble in school. He was not interested in studying, and often got into fights or made jokes in class. His teachers called him a troublemaker. When he was a teenager, he was sent to military school, but he was kicked out for bad behavior. After that, he did not know what to do with his life. He was lost and confused. Everything changed when his sisters encouraged him to move to New York and study acting. He joined the dramatic workshop at the new school, where he learned from Stella Adler, a famous acting teacher. Stella Adler introduced him to method acting, a style where actors try to feel the emotions of their characters deeply and honestly. This new way of acting fit Brando perfectly. He worked hard and practiced every day. For the first time in his life, he felt like he belonged somewhere. In the late 1940s, Brando started acting on stage. His performance in the play A Streetcar Named Desire made him famous. When the film version came out in 1951, people were amazed by his talent. But even with this success, Brando still felt pain from his past. He often acted out or stayed away from Hollywood parties. He did not trust many people and liked to be alone. His early struggles stayed with him throughout his life and shaped the way he acted and lived. These hard experiences helped him become a powerful actor, but they also made his personal life full of anger and sadness. Now, we talk about 6 actors he disliked the most, and why. Number 1. Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra and Marlon Brando worked together in the 1955 film Guys and Dolls, but their relationship was full of tension and dislike. Even before filming began, the two men had very different styles and personalities. Marlon Brando was a method actor. He liked to take his time and get deep into the emotions of his character. He believed in feeling every word and every moment. On the other hand, Frank Sinatra was quick, sharp, and very professional. He wanted things to move fast and did not enjoy repeating scenes or trying new ways of acting. Brando once called Sinatra a saloon singer, which was a disrespectful way of saying he was not a real artist, just someone who sang in bars. Sinatra never forgot that insult. During the filming of Guys and Dolls, their tension grew worse. Brando would often delay shooting because of his acting process, which made Sinatra angry. Sinatra started calling Brando Mumbles because of the way he spoke his lines softly and slowly. Brando, in return, ignored him and kept doing things his own way. There was no friendship between them, only quiet anger and competition. Sinatra thought Brando was difficult and strange. Brando thought Sinatra was shallow and not serious about acting. Even after the film was finished, they never worked together again. Brando later said in interviews that he never liked Sinatra and did not respect his acting. Their story shows how 2 great stars can be completely different in their thinking and how those differences can turn into dislike. It was not just a small argument, it was a long-lasting dislike that came from their personalities, their pride, and their strong belief in how acting should be done. This is why Frank Sinatra is first on the list. Number 2. Burt Reynolds. Marlon Brando and Burt Reynolds never worked together in a film, but their dislike for each other was very open and public. Brando did not respect Reynolds as an actor. He believed Reynolds focused too much on his looks and charm, rather than real acting skill. Brando thought acting was a serious art form that came from deep emotion and inner pain, while Reynolds often played light, funny, or charming roles that Brando saw as shallow. In an interview, Brando once said that Reynolds was like a male model trying to act. He felt Reynolds did not have the depth or seriousness needed to be a great actor. Brando also said that if Reynolds ever played a role like The Godfather, it would be a joke. These strong words showed how little Brando thought of Reynolds' talent. Burt Reynolds did not stay quiet. He answered Brando by calling him a bitter old man who was jealous. He said Brando used to be great, but had become angry and lazy in his later years. Reynolds also made fun of Brando's weight and strange behavior. The two men continued to insult each other in interviews, and it became clear that there was real hatred between them. Their fight was not about something that happened on a film set. It was about pride, ego, and the way each man viewed acting. Brando believed in deep emotional performances, while Reynolds believed acting could also be fun and entertaining. Because of these differences, they never saw eye to eye. Their public war of words lasted for years. Even after Brando's death, Reynolds still did not speak kindly of him. This long-lasting bitterness is why Burt Reynolds is clearly one of the actors Marlon Brando hated the most. Number 3. James Dean. James Dean was one of the rising stars of the 1950s, and many people compared him to Marlon Brando. Both actors were young, good-looking, and known for their deep emotional style of acting. Dean looked up to Brando and even tried to follow his path. He dressed like him, acted like him, and studied method acting just like Brando. But instead of feeling proud or flattered, Brando felt annoyed and even angry. Brando believed James Dean was copying him without truly understanding the pain and experience behind his acting. He once said that Dean was doing an impression of him, not creating something real. This made Brando feel disrespected, as if Dean was stealing his identity. Brando did not like being compared to anyone, especially someone he thought had not yet earned that kind of praise. When Dean started gaining fame from films like Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden, the media began calling him the next Brando. This made things worse. Brando hated being replaced or copied. He believed Dean's fame was more about style and looks than real talent. He also disliked how Dean lived his life like a rebel, both on and off screen. Brando thought it was just for show, not something honest or meaningful. Even though James Dean died young in a car crash at the age of 24, Brando never showed much sympathy. He kept his distance and rarely spoke kindly about Dean. Many people believe Brando's dislike came from jealousy, while others say it was just Brando's way of protecting his place in acting history. Whatever the reason, it is clear that Marlon Brando did not respect James Dean and saw him as a threat, not a friend. That is why Dean is on this list. Number 4. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is one of the most respected actors in Hollywood, and many people admire both him and Marlon Brando for their powerful performances. But there was a time when Brando did not feel very warm toward De Niro. The reason for this goes back to the Godfather films. Brando played Vito Corleone in the first Godfather movie and won great praise for the role. Later, in The Godfather Part 2, Robert De Niro played the younger version of Vito Corleone, and he won an Academy Award for it, just like Brando had. Brando did not express his dislike openly at first, but people close to him said he felt uneasy about De Niro getting so much praise for playing the same role. He refused to attend the Oscars when he won, and when De Niro won for the same role, it seemed to bother him even more. Some say Brando saw De Niro as someone trying to follow in his footsteps and take his place. Brando once commented that De Niro was too quiet and cold in his acting. He said there was something missing in De Niro's performances, something human. De Niro, on the other hand, always showed respect for Brando. He never said anything bad in public, but Brando rarely gave De Niro any credit, even though they later worked together in the film The Score in 2001. On the set of The Score, things were tense. Brando showed up late, did not follow the director's instructions, and often refused to do scenes with De Niro directly. Their scenes had to be shot separately at times. Brando made things difficult, which showed that his old feelings had not gone away. This quiet tension and coldness is why Robert De Niro makes this list of actors Brando disliked. Number 5. Richard Harris. Richard Harris and Marlon Brando had one of the most well-known feuds in film history, and it all began during the troubled production of the movie Mutiny on the Bounty in 1962. Both actors were strong-willed and proud, and when they met on set, their personalities clashed almost immediately. Brando was already famous for being difficult to work with. He changed scripts, ignored the director, and often delayed filming. Harris, who was also known for his temper and strong opinions, quickly grew frustrated with Brando's behavior. Richard Harris accused Brando of being lazy and selfish. He said Brando was more interested in power and control than in making a good movie. Harris believed Brando thought he was smarter than everyone else on set, and did not respect the people he worked with. Brando, in return, saw Harris as loud, annoying, and full of himself. He thought Harris was only looking for attention and did not have the discipline or depth of a serious actor. Their fights became so bad that other people on the set noticed the tension. Harris would complain about Brando to the press, calling him a spoiled child and a nightmare to work with. Brando did not stay quiet either. He called Harris immature and claimed he lacked real talent. Their hatred was not just professional, it became personal. Even after the film was finished, the two actors never made peace. For years, they continued to insult each other in interviews. Brando later admitted that working on Mutiny on the Bounty was one of the worst experiences of his career, and Harris was a big part of that misery. Because of their loud, public, and long-lasting feud, Richard Harris earns his place on the list of actors Marlon Brando hated the most. Number 6. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando worked together on the film The Island of Dr. Moreau in 1996, and their time on set quickly turned into a disaster. By that time, Brando was older and known for being difficult to work with. Kilmer was younger, but also had a reputation for being hard to manage. When these two strong personalities came together, the result was chaos. Brando did not like Kilmer from the very beginning. He thought Kilmer was rude, arrogant, and immature. Brando believed Kilmer showed no respect for other actors or for the art of acting itself. On set, Kilmer often arrived late, argued with the director, and refused to follow instructions. Brando once called him childish and said Kilmer acted like a spoiled movie star who only cared about himself. Kilmer, in return, made fun of Brando's age and strange behavior. He reportedly laughed at the way Brando delivered his lines and even said Brando was no longer the actor he used to be. Kilmer's comments deeply offended Brando, who already felt uncomfortable with the film's messy production and poor script. Their relationship became so toxic that they could barely stand to be in the same room. The director had to shoot some of their scenes separately or make changes to avoid fights. Brando later said that working with Kilmer was one of the worst experiences of his career. The film itself was a failure, both critically and financially, and many people blamed the problems on the fighting between Brando and Kilmer. Even after the movie ended, Brando never spoke kindly of Kilmer. He believed Kilmer had no real understanding of acting and was more interested in fame than craft. Marlon Brando was not just an actor, he was a force of nature. His talent changed the way people saw acting, and his performances are still studied and admired today. But with that talent came a sharp tongue, a powerful ego, and a refusal to accept anything he saw as fake or shallow. Brando lived by his own rules. He respected only those who truly gave themselves to their art, and he had no patience for people he believed were lazy, dishonest, or overly focused on fame. The 6 actors on this list, Frank Sinatra, Burt Reynolds, James Dean, Robert De Niro, Richard Harris, and Val Kilmer, were all successful in their own way. Some were legends in music or film, some were rising stars, and some were serious artists themselves. But to Brando, they did not meet his standards. Whether because of style, personality, or pride, Brando found reasons to reject them. In some cases, like with James Dean or Robert De Niro, his feelings may have been rooted in jealousy or fear of being replaced. In others, like with Sinatra or Kilmer, it was more about personal clashes and deep differences in how they worked. Brando dislikes were loud and lasting. He did not pretend to be polite or hide his opinions. That honesty made him both respected and feared in Hollywood. His life was full of success and sadness, brilliance and battles. He left behind unforgettable performances and a long list of people he clashed with. In the end, Marlon Brando's story is not just about the people he hated. It is about a man who gave everything to his craft and demanded the same from others. He was complex, difficult, and sometimes unfair, but always unforgettable. That is the truth of the godfather of cinema.